Dear friends, good evening. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us to this Friday session of your channel Gnosis Arizona. We, as part of the topic on the esoteric discipline of the mind, we would like to cover a series of subject matter so that we can drive an improvement not only into our internal condition and the path forward that we're seeking on a path of transformation, but open the door of opportunity to improve the quality of all of our practices. What we will be discussing here tonight will allow you to walk with enough information so that you can become very capable of saving your energy. I mean, we're speaking here about having available energy for your spiritual work. And we will show you some good tips on things that you can do so that you can improve that. But we will also share with you what is the effect of not having that energy available, how that reflects specifically in your dreams. We will not speak tonight about how to interpret dreams, but we will show you what is the effect of lacking the spiritual energy as it influences your dreams. We will also share with you which dreams you can discard and which dreams are truly important. And as we cover that, we're going to move into the main subject matter, which is discussing the purpose, the science, and the technique of meditation. Many of you may have practiced meditation before. It is possible that what you may see here could invite some mental conflict. I will ask you that if any of that happens, that you open yourself to that which is known. Give yourself the opportunity, receive this information and the material, put it to practice. And just like the good traveler making use of a map, make a decision then if this information that you're receiving is making then the right improvement and the right change for you. Let's go ahead and start with the words of Master Samael Aun Weor, because as he is addressing a group of second and third chamber students when he is sharing most of this information, he says, we must be positively prepared to receive superior teachings and make the most of our time. But he also says, the time has arrived where we must comprehend the need to give more opportunity to the consciousness. And this is exceedingly important. It is likely that you had not heard that statement before, but this concept of giving more opportunity to the consciousness is vital. Because if the consciousness is not in operation, what is interfering then is the ego, and we are seeking to disconnect from that. As we look at Adam and Eve in this image, notice that we have highlighted 5 specific cylinders of the human machine. Here we see from top to bottom the intellectual center that is residing in the head. We see the motor center that is right there at the very top of the spine, base of the neck. We have the emotional center in the area of the chest. In reality, that emotional center exists around 3 fingers above the navel. And then we have an instinctive center that is located at the base of the spine, and of course, our sexual creative center. These centers, important that we remember them, because Samael refers to our physicality as he is addressing his students as if it were a house with several rooms. And he says, there are people who live in the lower levels of the house. Those concentrated in instincts and fornication, they live in the 4th and 5th levels of the house, so to say. So any one of us who is operating emotionally as a 2-dimensional being, well, the focus is going to be strictly on sensations. The focus is going to be exclusively on the impulses that we're still carrying from the moment we progressed from the lower animal kingdom. And living in this particular condition, well, it's not the most suitable for us to have a true, profound spiritual experience and an internal transformation. But he says, Others live in the house's third floor and they will not come out. That third floor that he refers to is the motor center. These are all those who are constantly hovering around their habits and their traditions and their customs. They must have their coffee at a specific time of the day. They must use a very specific toothpaste in the morning. They must drive one specific direction, one specific route as they're going to work. And they are very fixed into all of these habits. Well, being caught in this motor center as well, we waste plenty of our creative energy during the day, and anything that causes a disruption evidently triggers a conflict in the mind. Sometimes those conflicts responding or reacting very violently. Then he says, some live on the first floor, that is the intellectual center. And he says, for them, everything is rationality, analysis, concepts, discussions, and they are unwilling to let go. The thing here is that when we are stuck in our intellectual center, there is always a comparison. We're always looking at things from the good or the bad perspective. We are comparing our experience now with one or many other experiences that took place in the past. We are comparing our children, we're comparing our parents, we're comparing our spouse, we're comparing our job, our salaries, and this brings a tremendous amount of internal conflict. Evidently, if that conflict exists, it has to be fueled from somewhere, and it's being fueled by our sexual creative center. So that creative energy is being drained and wasted. And all that we have left then here of these 5 cylinders is just the emotional center. So what? So Samael says, then others who live exclusively within their emotional center, they're dedicated to vices, like the movies, like the horse track, like bike races. Let's remember that Samael, when he speaks to his students, this is back in the late 50s, in the early 60s. So this is many years ago. But we can understand what those vices would be today. These would be those who are dedicated to their vices, like their social media, like binge watching shows on TV, etc. And he says that is their world, living enslaved to negative emotions, and it never occurs to them that they can escape. And we have seen lots of this before, perhaps even in our own actions. When we sit on the sofa and we are binge watching a show for 5, 6, maybe 10 hours, living every emotion that the hero or the main character of the show is expressing. We suffer with them, we have joy with them, we cry with them. And every time that happens, we are just deeply submerged in the sleep of the consciousness. All along, that sleep of the consciousness, all of that energy that is being burnt, is being sourced from our creative center. So the master says, we must insist on this thing about giving more opportunity to the consciousness. Dear friends, what Samael is saying is that for us to be able to make an effective transformation, to be able to enable this internal change, we cannot allow ourselves to live in the 5 lower centers of the human machine. We cannot live stuck in our mind. We cannot live stuck in our emotions, in our habits, in our sexuality, and our animal impulses. We cannot do that. We must do something different. Because let me tell you what happens. If you do not have enough energy at the end of the day for your spiritual work, as your physical body goes to sleep, your consciousness trapped within that lunar astral body that today we refer to generically as a soul will unfold from your body. Every night we go through an astral experience. Every night, whether you want it or not, we are unfolding in our astral body, and what we are seeking to do is to unfold consciously. But if there's no energy left, the moment that lunar astral body unfolds, the ethereal body has the duty to restore the physical body. It has to repair it, to restore it, it has to re-energize it. And by the time that we come back into the body and we wake up in the morning, what we may have experienced in that dream state, in that oniric experience, that is an astral unfoldment, could be chaotic. It could be incomprehensible. So let's understand what that is. In terms of dreams, there are different types of dreams. There are dreams that are entirely intellectual. There are dreams that are entirely emotional. Dreams that are associated with the motor, instinctive center of the human machine. And of course, there are sexual dreams. We all know this. Let me tell you what these sexual dreams are. Sexual dreams are repetitions of daily activities. The same dramas that we experience during the day, we come to experience them once again when the physical body is sleeping. The same bad habits that we express during the day, when the physical body is sleeping and we unfold in our astral body, we repeat those bad habits in that astral dimension, in that lower realm of the astral plane. And these repetitions of daily activities are exacerbated, well, with our fornications, with our stimulation of the physical body, and of course, our adulteries. But not just all those adulteries that are strictly associated with a carnal nature. Every time that we are adulterating the wisdom, that requires of an effort. Every time that we force ourselves, that we convince ourselves of things that we know that they are not true, that we are self-propagating these self-invented realities, that requires of that energy, and then we start repeating that within the astral plane. Then we have instinctive dreams. Instinctive dreams are very difficult to understand. These dreams, they are very incoherent. You cannot make A or B out of it. You cannot put things in sequence. It just does not make sense. And let me tell you what the Master says. Whether it is those sexual dreams or these instinctive dreams, these dreams are useless. We should not even worry about these dreams. There is nothing of value that comes from these particular dreams. But sometimes we have emotional dreams. I mean, it is very likely that if you're here listening to this lecture, well, it is very clear that there is a magnetic center in you that is active, that is seeking for this particular information. And on top of that, it is also likely, it's very possible that you may have had a dream where your teeth may have fallen out in your sleep. Dreams of that nature, these are emotional dreams. By the way, if that has ever happened, losing your teeth in a dream speak of the incorrect use that you have given to the creative power of the word, and it shows that you have lost the ability to defend yourself. It is like a wall of protection that has crumbled. But what about these emotional dreams? Emotional dreams are passional in nature. These are dreams that are brutal. You find yourself fighting, and while you're fighting out there, unfolded in your astral body, your physical body is here, grunting and throwing fists and maybe even kicking while you're in bed. So these dreams, passional and brutal, and being of this nature, these dreams are of no use either. So notice, we have seen motor, instinctive, we have seen sexual dreams, we have seen emotional dreams, and this could be happening night after night after night. All along, that creative energy is being wasted. Intellectual dreams. These dreams are just projections of the mind. Anything that has to do with being analytical, anything that has to do with making comparisons, anything that has to do with reason in our dreams, these are all projections of the mind. And for as long as they continue being projections of the mind, they are nothing more than projections of our ego, these dreams are also of no use. So these are the 5 lower levels of the human machine. What do we do then? Well, Samael says, in the name of truth, we must say only the dreams corresponding to the superior emotional center, that is on the 7th floor, are worthy of consideration. Dreams that correspond to the superior emotional center. And the same is true for the dreams of the superior intellectual center. So these two, superior emotional and superior intellectual center, they happen to be the 6th and the 7th floor of the human house. These superior emotional and superior intellectual centers exist in the head. And these are the centers, the two superior centers that we must learn to energize so that when we unfold in our astral body, that we have an experience that is not only lucid and vivid, but conscious, so that we can receive the wisdom that is available to us directly from not only the oniric experience, but from the lips of the masters. Samael says, the dreams of the different lower centers of the human machine, whether motor, emotional, sexual, instinctual, or intellectual, these dreams are irrelevant. Such dreams are worthless. We must become conscious of what is happening when we are leaving our physical body behind, when we allow the physical body to go to sleep. So what does this mean on operating from the superior emotional center? For starters, this superior emotional center is the most important cylinder in the human machine. All of the dramas that we may see in that superior emotional center, they will be adequately organized. Everything that you will perceive there are activities of the consciousness. The more we empower the consciousness, the more the consciousness can manifest itself through that interior mind and receive wisdom from these higher centers. Every dream that emerges from the superior emotional, the superior intellectual center, these are dreams that they are clear and they are precise. But the messages that you will receive, they are all symbolic. Everything that you perceive through these superior centers, they are allegoric. And for you to decipher them, you need to become familiar with Hermetic Kabbalah. We must learn to use 4 specific laws so that we can decipher these dreams. We must learn about the law of number, the law of correspondence, the law of opposites. We must learn about these. As we receive information in this superior emotional center, all of this information comes to us directly from the superior parts of the being. This information that we get, it comes directly from that brotherhood of the light. So we must enable the consciousness while we are here in this physical plane, so that when we leave the body behind, that we can be ready to perceive in that astral experience. For you to do this, we will give you some good tips, but one of them is, how is it that you can set your physical body when you are getting ready to go to sleep? As you rest, as you're heading to your room just to sleep for the day, make sure that you start by resting on your back. Your body, it should be aligned so that your head is always pointing north. That way you align yourself with those gentle currents that are flowing constantly through the planet. Just like the gentle compass, you align yourself with that magnetic north. And at the time of allowing yourself to rest, invoke of your Divine Mother and ask of your Divine Mother to grant you the grace to receive esoteric teaching, to be able to receive the symbols, to comprehend them, to internalize them. And once you have asked with infinite devotion from your heart, assume the lion's posture. This posture is exceedingly comfortable, and it is possible that you already practice it today, because you can lie either on your left side or on your right side. But what you will do is that if you rest on your right side, you will allow your face, your head, to rest on your right hand. You will bring your knees closer to the chest so that your body remains comfortably balanced, and you will allow your left hand to rest comfortably on your hip. If you're resting on your left side, rest your face on your left hand, allow your right arm to rest on your hip, and then bring the knees comfortably up so that you can remain in that posture throughout the night. But when you wake up in the morning, it is of vital importance that you do 2 things. Thing number 1 is to not move. It is possible that you have had already the experience of having a vivid recollection of everything that you experienced in your dream, but the moment that you make an effort to get out of the bed, just moving your body like that is enough to shake those memories out of the physical body, of the astral body. And in a split second, everything that you were able to perceive is gone. To prevent that, remain still when you wake up. And as you're still, at that immediate moment, make a conscious effort to do a retrospective exercise from the moment that you open your eyes backwards into the experience of your dream, so that you can move all of those experiences from memory into what is known as the mind of the esoteric work. That mind of the esoteric work belongs to the consciousness. So imagine how beneficial it is to you if in the morning, rather than jumping out of bed, you remain there, quiet, comfortable. You make an effort to retrospect and revisit the dream. You bring those memories from mental memories into becoming part of that registry that is the mind of the esoteric work. And then throughout the day, as you go through your day experience, at the end of the day, you do that retrospection again so that you can bring everything subconscious, everything that you just did automatically during the day, and make it part of that memory of the esoteric work. This is how we start helping the consciousness to awaken. If you are trying to remember and the images fleet away, if they seem to be forgotten, you can sing the mantra Raum Gaum. And you can sing this mantra with the silent word. Don't verbalize it. Sing it with your silent word. Make it rhythmic with your breathing. Trust the process. As you're breathing, sing mentally. Raum Gaum. Samael says that the mantra Raum Gaum is the equivalent of the use of dynamite to those who work in mines. And soon enough, after breathing comfortably, remaining relaxed, and singing that mantra, the images will start showing up, particularly the key images from your experience. Do this the moment that you wake up. So what does Samael says? After these clarifications about dreams, we must urgently move beyond the world of dreams to awaken in the inner realms. And this is only possible by giving greater opportunities to the consciousness. Now that we're speaking about being in the vigil state, when we are up, teeth brushed, adequately dressed, ready to start our day, we must from that moment forward give as many opportunities as we can to the consciousness. Any reaction of the mind, any identification with the circumstances of life, taking impressions from the external world and not processing them, all of these things, they will impact the intellect. And the moment that happens, the mind is going to react with violence. If we are constantly reacting as we identify with what is happening to us, with what that person said, with the harsh words that this person may have given us, somebody who hurts our self-consideration, our self-image, if our self-importance is somehow shattered by the judgments of others, we're going to get flustered. We're going to get frustrated, angry, vindictive, vengeful. All of these brutal reactions, they are the result of identifying and fascinating with that external impression. And every time that we identify and we fascinate, we fall deeper into the sleep of consciousness. So what would be truly interesting, what would be of true value for us, is to deny opportunities to either feeling or mind. During the day, we must make an effort to deny any reaction of the mind, to deny any reaction of the emotion, because an inactive mind is urgently needed. If the mind is not operating, and this may sound a little counterproductive, what will come into activity will be the consciousness. And then, rather than be comparing and looking for old experiences so that we can create some mental image about what is good or bad, etc., then we can start relying on the faculties of imagination, which is clairvoyance, inspiration, and intuition. Because imagination allows us to see, to perceive the reality of the thing. That is what is clairvoyance. Inspiration gives us the significance of the thing without having to rely on the logical process of the mind. And intuition gives us the spiritual reality of the thing itself. That is so much more superior than relying on the analytical abilities of our intellect. So here's an antidote for you, and this can truly help you. Under no circumstances allow the mind or the sentiments to react. When that happens, you will avoid an internal disequilibrium and, of course, the repercussions that happen externally. We understand. In days like today, this may be a challenge. There's so much that is happening around us. So much hyperexposure to social media, the news, etc. But we must make an effort. And if we can disconnect from those sources, even better for us. Take this antidote. So what is it that we're seeking? We're seeking passive mind. We are seeking a passive emotional center. When the mind is passive, when the emotion is passive, the personality becomes passive. And within that passivity, that lack of action, that lack of reaction, there is then the high activity of the consciousness, and that is the best possible condition for the awakening of the consciousness. Friends, there is a beautiful story of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. It has been said many times that he was one day meditating under the shade of the tree of illumination. And as he is deep in meditation, there is a man that approaches him and insults him, berates him. And within that calmness of the mind, that calmness of the sentiment, the Buddha asks the man, "Dear friend, if you bring someone a gift and that person does not accept the gift, to whom does the gift belong to?" The man said, "Well, to the person who's giving it." And then Gautama said, "I do not accept your gift." We must learn to close the door to negative emotions so that we can spare ourselves and maintain that inner tranquility. Doing this helps preserve all of this creative energy that then becomes available to our spiritual work. So what does this have to do with meditation? Well, in terms of practical meditation, what we are trying to do then is, with that energy available, we are seeking to move beyond the mind. We're seeking to move beyond the emotions, and that is only going to be possible when, during our daily life, when our practical life, we have trained intensively and make ourselves ready for the purpose of meditation. As we do this, we can then awaken the consciousness. But sometimes, and if you have tried to meditate, this may resonate with you, sometimes meditation can be a little difficult. Sometimes you can find yourself sitting there and your mind may be very active with random dreams that are showing one thing after the other. Dreams, mental images that seem to be connected just by the appearance of certain things. Samael says that without rigorous training in the psychological gymnasium of life, meditation remains difficult. When we start denying reactions to the intellect, denying the reaction of the emotion, and the personality remains passive, meditation starts becoming easier. Because when we are meditating, what we are seeking to do is to emancipate the consciousness. That means that the consciousness will be able to escape from the ego itself. The calmness of the mind must be such, the calmness of the emotional center must be such that in that lack of action of the ego itself, the consciousness itself will escape. And escaping, that emancipation of the consciousness, is the expansion of the consciousness, or the expansion of the Buddhata. With that expansion comes the experience of the truth, and you will have the opportunity to experience directly the illuminating void. But until that happens, we're going to remain trapped in the world of dreams, dreaming experiences in the 5 lower cylinders of the human machine. For as long as that continues, there would be no experience of that thing that is the truth. And we will remain trapped within our habits, our ideas, our emotions, consistently wasting and burning of this creative energy. So when Samael says that we meditate to calm down, what he is asking of us to do is to be able to minimize, to reduce to nothing mental activity and emotional activity, so that with that calmness and the calmness of the personality, we become completely receptive and the consciousness expands. The consciousness then becomes liberated. And for that, he gives us the technique of meditation, which is how to do it, and now the science of meditation. This technique of meditation will help us seek information, to receive that wisdom directly in the higher cylinders of the human machine. Again, the superior emotional and the superior intellectual center. And look at what Samael says. He says, the most important thing is to learn to detach the consciousness from between the mind and the ego. We are obviously breaking chains. We are getting out of that fatal dungeon of the ego itself. And for us to do this, the first thing that we must reach is a comfortable posture. This is what in meditation in the Eastern tradition is known as asana. And there are many different asanas. In terms of these comfortable postures, Samael tells his students, in any case, everyone should adopt the posture that suits them best. It matters little the posture we assume or whether we want to give it a special form. The only interesting thing is to know how to meditate. He says, nothing else matters. Each one of us is unique. So he says, find your most comfortable posture without adhering to any rule or pattern of asana or any system. He says, what is convenient, yes, is to relax the body. This is essential in whatever posture so that the body is comfortable. That's obvious. So the key takeaway from here is find that posture that is most comfortable for you. For some of you, the lotus posture comes natural. You are very flexible and you can sit in that posture for hours. That's the case. That's awesome. For some of us, it is more comfortable to sit in a chair, feet flat on the floor, hands resting comfortable on our thighs. For others, it is resting flat on your back. But we tell you this, we have created many bad habits, and we have educated the physical body that every time that we lay flat on our back, it is just to let the body fall asleep. So if you go straight into the corpse posture in which you're just resting flat on your back, it is likely that you're going to fall asleep. You're going to lose the opportunity to meditate. So we invite you, try the chair if you cannot do the lotus posture. One of these postures as well is the posture of the flaming star, where you're resting flat on your back, but your arms are open. Your legs are open like a 5-pointed star. And if you assume that posture with your head pointing north or pointing towards the east, that is a very great posture for meditation. And Samael says, when any tenebrous entity sees that shape of the flaming star, it just flees away. So this about postures. And then there is the use of the mantra Hamsa. Mantra Hamsa is very powerful. Let me show you this image. What you're seeing here on the screen is a cervical and brain cerebrospinal fluid flow. And this was done with an MRI. So look at these shades. Let's see if we can make that happen again. And observe the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid. We have the ability to influence this flow. And we can influence the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid going from the very base of our spine, energized at that point from our sexual creative energies, and allow it to flow from the base of the spine all the way up to the brain. We can influence that at will. Samael says to that effect, there is an intimate relationship between sexual forces and breathing. When adequately combined and harmonized, they originate fundamental changes in the physiologic and psychologic anatomy of man. So how can we do this? As we're getting ready to sing the mantra Hamsa, we assume the comfortable posture. It could be sitting on a chair, lotus posture, comfortable on a lazy boy, comfortable in a sofa. And as you're breathing, you must imagine the creative energy in action during meditation. Friends, for this, you must use your objective imagination. You must use whatever much you have developed today of that faculty of clairvoyance so that you can see that with the eye of your mind. And you must bring that ability to see that creative imagination in balance with your willpower. Imagine that creative energy in action during meditation and make it rise rhythmically and naturally to the brain through the vocalization of the mantra Hamsa. How do you do that? We breathe in. As we're breathing in, the mantra is chanted mentally with a silent word, Ham. Breathing in, Ham. Hold it. Lungs are full. Allow it to escape effortlessly. Rapid expansion of that air that you had in your lungs. Empty those lungs like a flash expansion. As you're practicing that, you can start feeling how you are willingly moving deliberately that cerebrospinal fluid, increasing that flow. That sa must be gentle. It must not be sa, because we don't want to bring tension into the body. Hum, sa. And we will continue with that exercise, transmuting our sexual creative energies, rising that energy from the base of the spine up through those two channels, Ida and Pingala in the spine, depositing that energy in the brain. And this is what we will do in a comfortable, relaxed posture. Samael says, I am teaching you the legitimate white tantra. This is the practice that is used by the tantric schools of the Himalayas and the Hindustan. It is the practice through which one can reach Samadhi. In that comfortable posture, we tax the mind with singing the mantra so that it's not fleeting away in thoughts. We are breathing in. We are deliberately enabling, increasing that flow of that charged cerebrospinal fluid. There comes a moment in which you charge yourself with so much of this transmuted energy that the consciousness escapes the ego. It becomes immediately emancipated. So in terms of technique, this is it. In terms of science, speaking clearly, knowing that science is the understanding of these phenomena by virtue of their causes and effects. Now you can understand that the science enables the emancipation, the escape of the consciousness. So here you have the steps that you must follow so that meditation becomes fruitful and successful. Find a comfortable posture. Relax your physical body. At that moment as you're relaxing, invoke of your innermost. Just like at night, you invoke of the help of your Divine Mother. Invoke of your innermost to give you guidance, to give you wisdom to understand, to help officiate in the practice. Close your eyes and initiate mantra Khamsa. If you're doing this, use your willpower and your objective imagination so that you can see that creative energy and action flowing from the base of the spine all the way up and reaching the brain. And if at any moment a thought comes to mind, and it will, at any moment the thought comes to mind, stop the mantra and limit yourself to contemplating your thought the same way that you sit down and you look at a drama on your TV. Stop the mantra and seek to comprehend the thought. Observe it and perceive. Is that thought related to some logical, analytical comparison stuff? It's coming from the intellect. Is that thought inviting or bringing back some emotions? But it's coming from the emotional center. Is that thought associated with habits, with discomfort in the body, with things that have to do with your motor center? That's where it's coming from. If it's a thought that has to do with fighting, running away, abandoning the practice, that is all instinctive. So you can see from which cylinder the thought is emerging. And as you have seen that, make an effort to visualize the opposite of that thought. If you're seeing some image in which you are comparing, bring gratitude, bring satisfaction. As you see that, well, there's no need to compare. That satisfaction, that gratitude helps synthesize the thought. If you see a thought that is of a lustful type of sexual nature, visualize the Holy Grail and visualize the spear of Longinus. Spear of Longinus is the spear that the Roman soldier used to perforate the side of the Master when he was in the cross. The moment that you see that Holy Grail, that spear, that lustful thought becomes synthesized. If you have an emotion of anger, see charity, compassion, kindness. Enable yourself to synthesize that thought. And once that happens, invoke your Divine Mother. Divine Mother, help me eliminate this psychological aggregate. Help me eliminate this defect. She always will. And then go back to the technique of meditation and go back into the breathing. Friends, when we are able to expand the consciousness, for the consciousness to experience the illuminating void, even for a fraction of an instant, it perceives with its spatial sense everything that has been, everything that is, and everything that will be. The radiations from that experience will impregnate themselves within your personality. Your mind will perceive them. And that experience by itself will move you into transvaluating so many things in your life. You will start finding love for the work, just for the work itself. So we have three elements that are necessary so that our consciousness can experience the illuminating void. The first one is the pump. That pump, well, that is the spine, where we have that central channel through which the spinal fluid is flowing, and the nadis, the channels of Ida and Pingala. Because as we are moving this energy, solar and lunar atoms that exist within our sexual creative waters flow through those channels of Ida and Pingala, and that flow generates an electrical induction that triggers sparks of the fire of Kundalini within yourselves. So we have that pump. We also have the generator. The generator for that is your willpower. It's also your brain. So we have a pump, we have a generator, and the source of power is all of that creative water that exists within us. So it is of vital importance that you make an effort to not waste your creative waters. Preserve them like a treasure. Imagine that they are contained in a grail, in a cup. Consider that a hermetic cup, and that hermetic cup must never be spilled. In terms of Samadhi, Samael is very clear about it. And he says, you need courage to sustain Samadhi. Because the moment that you experience the truth, you are no longer like others who live grasping on beliefs. There, in that illuminating void, you experience the immediate need to work right here, right now, at this conscious moment in the self-realization of the being. This is what we can do with this practice of white tantra, that is the science and the technique of meditation. And just to give you some perspective, in the Zen Buddhism, when a student experiences the illuminating void, the master immediately hits him really hard. And they hit him very hard with the purpose of helping the student rebalance their values, to test the disciple and see how well the disciple is working in the death and the elimination of all of his psychological aggregates. So friends, this is what we wanted to share with you tonight in terms of the science of meditation. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful weekend, and may all beings be happy.